Hello, everyone.
Whoa, hello everybody. Oh, I just got the notification on my YouTube that we are
Yep.
live. So
Yeah, that's right.
it's on, it's working.
Yeah, this is our first live stream, so we're just very giddy and
Right.
excited because I've never toyed around with the live streaming because A, Spectrum Wi-Fi hates me, and B, just anything can happen live. So we always like to pre-film them and just to make sure if we need to edit anything out. But here
me trying to get my cats out of here.
Right.
But
we're
one's
unfiltered.
coming in and the other, okay, you can come in. Goodbye.
So say we're unfiltered, we're on the air. It's actually funny because this whole season, we'll talk about it. The big thing that played into it was the fact that the jury could watch the season.
Right.
So it's very fitting that we are doing this live where we cannot edit anything out, where it's all raw for everyone to see. But how are you doing, Zach? Welcome to Recipe for Reality, everyone.
I am doing great. Welcome everybody. I hope you're enjoying it. Dylan, this has been a big couple of weeks for the both of us. We've got some things floating out in the ether, hoping kind of something bites at either of them. And
yes, we will not share what that is, but we are.
Both of us
setting our goals high.
Yeah, but we've got some goals going into the rest of the year, and we're just hoping for the best.
Right.
And it's a little weird right here in New Jersey right now. It's a little warmer for February, which is so good, except for the fact that the world is falling apart. But for now, we've got Big Brother. Dylan, how are you tonight? Or how are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, we just finished the finale. And for those who have watched our show before, we talk about all reality television. But tonight we're only going to talk about the finale because, A, we're not all caught up on everything. I need one more episode of Amazing Race to watch because it's airing now. I've not been able to watch it. And then, of course, we have what's the other show we're watching? Bachelor, which we'll cover. But tonight's just about Big Brother.
Big Brother, baby.
Oh boy, what a finale it's been. I mean, the last time we talked, we were down to 5 or 6, right? Because Carson was about to go home or something. But now we're done. I mean, it's over. To recap what happened the past few nights, the double eviction sent home, unfortunately, Lamar and Todd, which were the only two rooting interests for a lot of people left. And then it was down to the final 3. And of course, how did it go, Zach? Who won the final HOH?
So this is how this goes, right? We get someone kind of dominating the season. Misha's winning HOH veto comp after HOH and veto comp, and here she comes in the finale. They don't even need to get through all the questions. I mean, they get through all the questions, but it doesn't even matter. Misha has a 3-1 lead on both Todrick and Cynthia. She wins that final HOH. Yeah. So if let's get in, right. We're already jumping and we're talking about finale. Mm-hmm. One of the things that always has bugged me, and it's bugged me a couple of times, it's bugged me a little bit about Big Brother 23, and sometimes I don't think it's happened as recently. It was mainly Big Brother 23, and then this season, what I really cannot stand, and I am all about personal goals. What I cannot stand is I can't stand people who go into the game and they're willing to lose at anything other than the last person walking out with the confetti, right? You're happy just to get far, but you don't settle for anything less than the confetti blast and the shaking Julie's hand and things like that.
It's like if you're in final 3, play to win. Don't be like, well, if I get third, I get third, because that's what one of these players does.
So that was for me what the most disappointing thing about Cynthia was, right? We're launching into the final 3 in their gameplay. Cynthia, both of us had Cynthia further down on our lists for our preseason kind of placements and predictions. Mm-hmm. And I mean, here's the thing is that rightfully so, we should have had her down that far because she didn't do much for the game in terms of gameplay or working with anyone. She was another one of those kind of like Derek F's,
Azza, I think the Azza
Victoria
Azza,
of one of those
challenge.
Things where not a single win all season to my knowledge, unless I'm forgetting one. Really, just absolutely kind of squeezing by on the fact that she was unintimidating. And the thing is, I know that Dr. Will, in a roundtable not too long ago, said something to the effect of, "Is that a strategy?" I'm going to make my final call. No, it's not a strategy, because the thing is, I mean, you could absolutely make the case that should Cynthia get to the end this time, she beats Todrick. But that's not a regular season of Big Brother. That's a season of Celebrity Big Brother where they have the ability to go home and watch. I don't in any other season, Cynthia doesn't stand a chance against Misha or Todrick, and that is I think that in a regular season, where she might stand up against them is if she's able to, make loyalties with any of the jury members and kind of play out a little bit more of the relationship. But she's got nothing to show for it. She doesn't have a single hand in anything. She's got no big moves. She really floated her way, or not even floated, coasted her way to the end off of the idea that everyone else was a bigger target than her. And again, I guess some might say that is a strategy, but in my opinion, I know it's not all about the comp wins, but for me, you got to win at least either at least win a comp or play ringleader for one big move that happens in the house all summer. And she did neither of those things. And then she said she was cool to get third, which drives me crazy. Cause to me, that says, I didn't want to play the game hard enough to win, but I made it far enough to say that I got something out of it. You know what? Yeah. Good for you, I guess, but not really a great game.
And the week where Carson saves himself and Chris Kirkpatrick has his whole backdoor thing, I think that's the week where if
she goes home,
if Carson doesn't win the veto, then Carson goes home, and then I think Cynthia's gone right after that. Kind of like Chris Kirkpatrick went home, and then Shayna was gone right after that. I think it was just kind of a matter of which duo would get struck first. And, Chris Kirkpatrick, as we've said, was the turning point of the season, that move. But, so many things play out differently. But Cynthia gets third. She sees the jury, and obviously she's the one who can't go back and watch everything at home. And I think this is an interesting dynamic to talk about because obviously we have Misha and Todrick now in the final two, which we kind of knew was going to happen ever since Carson went home. We're like, it's probably going to be these two unless Todd Bridges goes on an immunity run, which he kind of was going on an immunity run on Survivor mode now. I'm already transitioned to Survivor mode.
You're already there.
I'm already there. March, whatever, come soon. March 12th. I think
it's March 12th.
Yeah, but yeah, it seemed like unless Todd was going to beast out, which he was to a degree at times, but then just one competition shot.
Yeah.
He wins that veto. He sends home Todrick. And it was a whole other game.
That was heartbreaking. Watching that, watching him play that comp, that HOH comp. Was it HOH or was it V? No, it was HOH.
Was the one where he buzzed in early a bunch of times, which I think it's a good strategy because once you narrow it down to two, all you have is a 50-50 shot. And if you buzz in first and you're right, you get it right. And that's how he got those first 2 points. I think, honestly, the more frustrating one was the veto just because he was like, I don't know the days. So it's like you got the days and then the rolling the ball. And he's like, I could roll the ball, but I just don't know the day. And it's just that's something that just not knowing the show as well.
And I think
this was the competition on day 6,
that for me, I mean, the veto didn't frustrate me as much as the HOH, honestly, because I know that in that situation, you're trying to just kind of go for it. But also when you know that that's pretty much your guarantee of safety leading up, because it didn't matter. That now winning this HOH doesn't mean you can't be HOH again. Normally that's what a double kind of holds for you. So you have to play your cards right. This for me, I was like, I would have taken probably more time to answer, chancing that I might run into a tie with Misha or Cynthia. But honestly, I'd rather be right and a little too slow than fast and wrong because I'd have more. I think as a player, I'd have more regret not taking my time when it mattered most because you don't know how much time you're going to have left. So you kind of have to make the most of that time. He still plays a great game.
I respect him for just being ballsy with that because that's a comp where it's 100%. Like, he took a risk, and if he gets it right every time he guesses and ends up going 5-0 and no one else scores a point, it's one of the best challenge performances ever, and it's a big underdog swing. It's almost similar to what we saw with Casey on 20. It's like, who is this person? And now they're winning everything. It kind of felt like that could be the trajectory, and he was likely to win. The jury loved him. Even Cynthia by the end of the season liked him, and I think that really just shows how
good he was at rearranging.
Some fights are just kind of maybe played up a bit more in front of cameras, or some fights, while it does get nasty and gruesome, you got to remember these are celebrities and they're used to the drama and they're very, Cynthia and Todd seem very forgiving, and it seemed like they were on good terms by the end, which was great to see. So we have this final two, Misha and Todrick. We know it's going to be a landslide just because we know what the jurors have been saying at home, but I think you bring up a good question. Before we get to this jury voting itself, going into it, do you prefer this method? Obviously, with celebrities, they have to go home because you can't quarantine them in a jury house. Otherwise, they're just all going to quit, like Chris Kattan.
Right.
So I get they go home, they watch everything. But do you think Todrick wins in a season where the jury is sequestered? Because I think he definitely gets probably more votes.
Yeah.
But do you think he still wins? Or do you think he still loses?
So here's the thing, right? It's going to be half an answer to the question, half probably about kind of like transitioning into our talking about it. I do think that Todrick wins. I think that Todrick wins because in a season where the jury can't really see much of anything, Todrick on paper looks great. He's a great manipulative player. He's won when it counted. Has he hidden behind Misha a little bit? Sure, but you know what? He plays ringleader well, and he owns his. I think that was what was hard, was that he actually owns his moves pretty well as a game player. The game player, he owns his moves very well. He's very upfront about it. He says it. He knows the game like the back of his hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think truthfully, and you know what? It was deserved. It was deserved for it to happen this way. I think that the way do I prefer it? I would love. I don't know. I think that
here. Let me chime in for a second because I think
go.
I think if it's Misha and Todrick, I don't think he wins because I think of the two, she has all the challenges too, which is a big thing. And like you see, like Rachel Riley, that's how she wins that game, is all the power. Janelle makes it as far in All Stars as she does because of her power of winning comps. I think winning comps, people sometimes shrug it off, and Todrick was like, well, I got here and didn't have to win comps. There is a strategy and a merit to that, but I think winning the comps and having the control and just being the one who has the power so early in the game that people are coming to you. The only reason Todrick makes an alliance with Misha is because she has the power in the beginning. So I think she could have played that card and still gotten it because I think both of them were equally as strategic because I think they did make a lot of the decision-making together, and I think she had the physical stuff to back it up. It's kind of like in Survivor, you look at outplay, outlast. It's like she outplayed everyone. And I think that is enough to say, like, I think she would have won. If it was Cynthia and Todrick, I think Todrick could squeak out a victory if it was the regular jury format. The only difference is that I think Shayna being in the jury house would have at least let Carson see that he was wrong, and maybe Carson and then Chris and Shayna all compare notes, and then they're all like, "Oh wait, yeah, Todrick betrayed us." And then Carson, if he was smart enough, would say, "Oh, Todrick said some mean things about you, Shayna," and that might get the jury to sway because obviously the stuff about like, you know, calling Todd and Lamar homophobic, even though they never said any homophobic slurs on the show. You know, bringing up the song that was traumatic for Shayna's past about that instance of violence in Shayna's life, and like you know, don't be too tough on me or whatever that Todrick says on the way out, like that kind of stuff. I don't know if they would necessarily be, you know, tuned into, but I think there would be enough from Shayna and Kirkpatrick to say, like, Kirkpatrick could say, hey, he brought my kid into this. He said my kid would be not proud of me. Like, I think that kind of stuff could definitely sway a jury against like a Misha for sure, because I think Misha has the physical stuff where a jury would be inclined to vote for her. But I think it's an interesting conversation because obviously the celebrity seasons are so different. And I like that only because this is a game where, yes, you have to be able to manage your jury, but at the same time, you know, you have to be able to play this game 24/7 and play a seamless game. And I think when you're saying all this shit on the live feeds, I mean, there's almost an element to where I wish every season was like this because people get away with a lot of shit in this game. So it's an interesting conversation. I don't think there's ever going to be an answer of which method is better. Obviously, this is the method that works for celebrity, and then the jury house is what it's going to be for Big Brother. We've seen greats like Daniel Reyes lose because of that. But then again, you know, if the feeds are in play, do other seasons change? Does Derek win against Cody if everyone's able to watch the feeds? Probably still, but like you never know with just other seasons.
You know, here's the thing. Again, I got to give Todrick credit as a game player. I don't think that that's worth it right now. I don't think that that's worth anything currently because even as a game player, he played well, but not well enough to be a good person along with it. And you know what? I think Chris Kirkpatrick summed it up best when he said, as he's voting, like, I came in here saying that I was going to play this game with integrity, and this vote's for my son. And that to me sums up
such a good zinger.
It's such a good zing. But
we'll talk about all of them. But yeah,
right. That to me is honestly what Big Brother as a game is, right? There is an element to playing the game and having to lie, but integrity above all else, I think for me, like as someone who loves the show and loves the game, I don't want to watch a bad person win. I didn't like watching Jackson Mickey win because watching him as a live feeder, great. On paper, you look great. Your comps are great. You worked your way out of a really, really, really like terrible situation. He even had that. He has a great game move where he frames Tommy and makes it really well and fools Nicole and Cliff.
Yeah.
But there's not a single moment in that game that I root for him. Sure, Cody and Xavier might be boring winners, but at least as people, I look at them and I go, I like you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I may not have thought that you were the most interesting players, but I'm happy that someone who deserves the money is winning.
Yeah.
I look at Mickey and I go, I don't really want you to win. I don't care how good at the game you were.
Mickey's the perfect example for what I was thinking of earlier of like, if this was this jury format, I don't think Mickey wins. I think Holly wins.
Right. 100%.
I think Tyler and Casey too. That's a case scenario where I think the bitter jurors, the opposite. I think the bitter jurors may watch it back home and respect Tyler more, like someone like Sam.
Right.
So like, it really is interesting to see like this game and the difference in jury and how that affects it. But I agree. I don't think Todrick would have won this.
No.
Against Misha. I think maybe against Cynthia, but that was never going to happen because in order for that to happen, Cynthia would have had to win and bring Todrick, and Cynthia was not winning a thing. And Todrick, if he won, would have probably brought Misha.
Right. Oh no, I don't think he would have actually.
You really don't think so?
Well, I guess maybe at this point in the game, I guess he would have. But there were a couple of there was a lot of time about last week where he said he would cut Misha if he thought that he couldn't beat her. And I don't know, maybe he's just that cocky and he thought he had the game on lock. But and again, not really in his defense, but to understand kind of maybe how he would see that, every juror as they were walking out was basically saying like, "You got my vote, man. You got my vote." Because at that point, I mean, and here's the thing: if I'm in the house and I don't see anything, and I keep going out, and Todrick and I know that Todrick has pretty much had the poll from like day one, I'm probably going to vote for him too, because I think like, man, I'm only leaving because Todrick is getting me out. But then
Todd Bridges is a perfect example. Goes home and then in a matter of minutes is tweeting, "Oh yeah, I was played. I was wrong. He is a piece of crap." And I even tweeted him. I said, "Game well played, sir." And he tweeted, he liked my tweet. And I was like, "Oh, I'm honored."
Todd Bridges. See again, and you know what? So now we can start transitioning into the jury a little bit too, because you know what?
I just want to say one more thing on that.
Go ahead.
On the line of that is that I think at the point in the mid game, Misha's the one who's the one to beat. But I think later on in the game, I think Todrick would have realized that Cynthia has more friends in the jury than Misha does. And I think that's just as far as it comes. I think he thought, well, me and Misha play this game together so that if I just pull the whole I was a super fan card, people will respect me more. And I think I entertained people more than Misha did. Whereas he's thinking, well, Cynthia, she's got Carson. She's probably got, Todd, or not Todd, but like Lamar maybe. Like I think he thought Cynthia would be a bigger threat jury-wise, and that's why he would have still taken Misha. So I think we were going to get this final two either way. But let's get to the votes, because let's go down the line. Teddy, well, all of them vote for Misha except for Cynthia, and I don't blame her because Cynthia didn't have the time to watch the feeds, and they did not do questioning. And I think this was one of those seasons where I think a lot of people were like, why aren't they doing questioning? And I just had to say, because they did not need any questions.
They didn't need a single question
because everything they were voting for was not strategically based, because they all knew they played the game together pretty much, Todrick and Misha, and they were saying, hey, back at home they were like, we're watching everything and there's no way we're going to vote for this guy, even if he plays the best game ever. Like, he's so rude and insensitive toward us that like we're not going to vote for him. So like I get why they didn't spend time questioning. The jury did not question the final two because of that. I think it would have been a waste of time, quite frankly. Also, and I think they still get to roast them when they go to vote anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Right, and that's the thing for me. Also, this format doesn't require questioning because they can already go and watch everything anyway. I think in a season like that first Celebrity Big Brother season where they're questioning Marissa and Ross, I actually do think it's pretty useful, because you're looking at it and saying like, Ross is the better player but can't own up to anything. And why can't he own up to anything when he knows that they can go watch back? And Marissa didn't really do much, not in terms of like she's a bad player, but like against Ross, she really has nothing to stand on.
Social game.
So how does she stand? What foot does she stand on when she's up against him? So I actually think that it's worth it for that. But in this case scenario, and honestly, I think for Celebrity Big Brother, pretty much from now on, I think that unless a jury is deliberate, because they can deliberate as much as they want, however they want. They've all been together. They're all hanging out. They can deliberate as much as they want outside of the house, which means that basically they have their vote kind of, sized in and ready to go. But I think that if someone maybe is questioning it, or if they're really, really tight, they should maybe allow it for like a question per contestant, because that, at least, again, the one thing that they knew without a doubt that they weren't going to need, Todrick doesn't sway their vote no matter what happens. None of them are voting for him, rightfully so. But I think if anything, they can at least offer up a shot for them to defend their game a little bit more, because in a regular Big Brother season, that's probably my biggest qualm with the finale in general. And I know it's a qualm felt by a lot of Big Brother fans, is that the questioning sometimes takes too long. But the defense of the game is too quick, because I think of it as, the one I'm always going to go to forever and ever and ever is Big Brother 20, because we stand not opposed, but you are my biggest devil's advocate, aside from my wife, who literally is like, you are wrong and incorrect. I have wholeheartedly believed for a very long, and I will never stop believing that Tyler should have beeten Casey. Because Casey isn't.
I've never been a devil's advocate for that. I was devil's advocate for Tyler being a lesser threat than Ian. On All Stars, we had a fight about that. I remember that. We were at it.
Man, I'm a Tyler Crispin diehard fan. Tyler Crispin, if you're watching, hit me up on Instagram, dude.
Zach was saying that they absolutely should have gotten rid of Ian over Tyler, and I said, "Are you watching this season? I love Ian. I wanted him to win, but I was like, there's no way they should bring Tyler further when they had the shot. They sent him home anyway. I agree with you though. Tyler should be.
But I think like in that situation, that is there is not enough time for him to explain the game that he has played. And that, I think, maybe some would argue that, like, well, he should be able to say his game in 30 seconds. After 90-something days in a house, playing a game every single day, and then having to talk to people through a screen and basically defend your game. Nina,
Tyler fan.
basically having to defend your game against, 9 people who you've wronged. It's very hard to like sway and convince them and again, always in my opinion, Tyler should have had Scotty's vote. That was
should have had Sam's.
So bitter. He should have had Sam's vote. That was bitter. He should have had Fessy's vote. He was never going to have Rockstar. He was never going to have Bailey, and that's okay. But someone like Fessy, who absolutely should have someone like Fessy and Scotty, who say that they liked the game so much, should have absolutely seen how hard of a game that he played. And I honestly think that given like enough time, a member of the final 2, and you kind of, it didn't really matter as much these last couple of years, but like, what could Paul have done with like 30 more seconds on Big Brother 19 or 18? What does someone like, I'm trying to go back in all of the winners in the last couple of years. What does someone like Cody get to say up against Derek? Because then you see how well he handles the final 2 jury questioning and defending his game after a year of not, after his one shot of never winning. I think that is the good thing about this season, is that the jury questioning is basically non-existent. But the downside of a regular season would be that, again, and the upside for a regular season, the like basically doesn't matter for this season, is they get a little bit more time to defend their game, but the game never needed defending because he was never winning.
Yeah, I think if you can watch everything at home, you don't really need to ask any questions because everything should be spelled out for you. But yeah, I get when you're secluded. Obviously, jury questioning is so important. And I almost like the Survivor format that they've changed to. I liked when it was jury questioning. You've never seen that phase of Survivor, but it's great. But I like the idea of just having an open forum, a tribal council. The only problem is that the whole group can kind of kumbaya against someone, which is what we kind of saw this past season. But like, if it's worthy, if the other two just aren't, I mean, they have the chance to step up for themselves if it's just an open conversation, which, there will never be a code to crack because every season is so different. But I think for the celebrity format, it's great. But let's get to these votes. Teddy marches up, and makes a great reference to Wizard of Oz. Says you both are playing behind the curtain, but I'm going to choose the lesser of two evils. I think that was a perfect way to word it because Misha's not innocent. Misha laughed at Todrick's comments, but like the thing is that Misha this whole time has been playing for something greater than herself. And Todrick has been playing for himself, and he was a little bit more selfish about it, and she was not. And I think that just separates it. I think you watch this game, you can respect Misha. I think Misha is the best, probably the best all-around female player, definitely since Casey and maybe since Rachel Riley, in the sense that she could beast competitions. She had a ride or die that just pummeled the game with them, and the jury wasn't that pissed off by her. They were a little annoyed by her, but only because she was a big threat, and it was like, how can you let her skate by? But I don't think anyone avidly was like, you are a gross human being, like they were with Todrick. So I really do think she's a good winner, and I would go as far as to say she's a great winner. I agree. And before we get to the rest of the votes, I just want to say I did have her as my first boot prediction, so everyone can say it right now. We are the kings of picking the winners based on our first boots. On Dancing with the Stars predictions, Zach and I both predicted Iman Shumpert to be the first person out preseason, and he went on to win. And then this season, I predicted Misha to be the first one out, and she won. And Survivor 41, we both predicted. Zach predicted Erica to be the second one out, and I predicted Erica to be the second one out. Or sorry, the first one out, and she won. So we are the kings of picking them. But Todrick was really the decision maker here because everyone else, we were kind of close with everything except I got many more points for Teddy than you did. You got a lot more points for Shayna than I did, but it really came down to Todrick, and because he was only one placement off for you, he got 10 points, and he was 5 or 6 placements off, so he got a 5. Because what we do is we take 11 points, and if you were 1 away, it subtracts by 1. Which is 10, and if you are 10 spots away, like I was with Misha, you only get 1 point. So that's how it checked out. But let's go through this story. So Mariah then comes in with a pretty sweet comment. Like she was very admiring of both games, but I think she definitely I forget exactly what she said. Do you remember?
I don't. I'm gonna see if I can pull up.
It was something. There was something to do with like admirable. Like I'm picking the person I look up to the most, or something like that. Like she was very sweet in her voting. And then who was next? I think it was Chris. He said
Chris Kirkpatrick walking in
about his kid, which was a great little zinger. Like my kid's gonna be proud of this because Todrick immediately probably knew like, oh shit, I'm the one who made fun of his kid. So obviously that was gonna happen. Shayna had my favorite zinger, which was this vote ensures that I will never have to hear your voice again. And that was quite the zinger. That one was my favorite just because it's like it's true because I don't want to put down anyone in the musical theater community because I am one and you are one, but his singing before his nomination ceremony was the most cringeworthy thing I've ever heard in my life. So I'm very glad she said that specifically. Like I don't want to hear his voice either because it was. I mean, this guy was on American Idol and on Broadway, and he's singing that before the nomination ceremony, and made me want to smash my TV speakers. Like
also, I'm pretty sure Big Brother doesn't allow you to sing when you're in the house. I'm pretty sure that you're technically not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to sing because of copyright, but I guess if it's his own original song, you're allowed to. Because that's why they tell them to stop singing is because they don't have the rights to all the songs. That's why they have to listen to music with headphones. Because they can't have any. Because if someone starts singing a song for more than like 8 seconds, it technically becomes copyright.
They have to pay for that
artist, which is crazy. And then after Shayna comes, I believe, is it Carson? Obviously, and Carson seems to be like. Props to both of you, but I'm going to go with the person who played it just a little bit better, which was a lot bit better, but whatever. After that is, of course, Lamar, who says something about his tattoo, and he's like, this person best embodies my tattoo that I got this morning. And he obviously votes for Misha, so he must have made some sort of Mamba mentality tattoo, I'm guessing, because he said, like, has the right mentality. Yep. And then Todd Bridges, who said, my vote was pretty much locked up until I watched the feeds last night, and God bless you all. like God, you need God's help because this is not right,
man.
Because he said some bad stuff about Todd, and I granted Todd and Cynthia had that battle, and I am team Cynthia for that fight, and we did condemn Todd's actions,
but also leave it alone. Todrick just suffers, man.
No, I mean, the thing is, Todd Bridges did a bad thing, but, like, I think over the course of the season, he kind of redeemed it because he did make amends with Cynthia, and he was a rooting interest. I think he just was there to have fun and actually knew the game and learned the game. He kind of didn't seemed like he knew the game because we all thought he didn't know the game, but he actually did.
No.
Turns out he revealed on the feeds. He was like, yeah, no, I know this game. So it was like a big surprise to me, and I think he played a good game. He had an interesting turnaround, and I feel bad that he had to go home literally 2 nights ago and read everything that was said about him being homophobic when we literally saw the segment where he was like, you should write a musical then. Like, I'm totally supportive of that, Todrick. I'll be in the first row. And it really just sucks that Todrick was just spreading all these rumors about him and Lamar when the 2 people we saw were closest with Todrick outside of Misha were Todd and Lamar. So it was just very weird. And then, of course, wrapping it up was Cynthia, who, of course, said, I'm going to go with the person who actually showed me how to play the game because she didn't know how to play the game, and that was Todrick. So,
no idea.
Yeah, but Shayna had the best zinger, I think, of the whole day.
Oh, my God, it was so good. I think it was Shayna, then Chris Kirkpatrick, which was very much, again, I think it's one of those things where if we're going to put it in the terms of, like, prior seasons, Todrick was the Paul to Shayna and Kirkpatrick's Justin Cody. Like that, I don't know what it is about me that you hate so much, but at least we get the last laugh on you, right?
Exactly.
Like we get to take away the thing that you've worked so hard for, and it's going to feel really good while we do it. I thought that overall, I mean, the jury, first of all, ruthless. They've been prepping these for a while though. Like Shayna has been ready to.
And I think there's a difference. Like Paul was disrespectful. Yes, 100% they were. But Paul was disrespectful in that he just didn't care about human emotions. But I don't think they said anything necessarily.
Did they say anything? I checked the other day. Paul is he, they. Okay, so we are not incorrect. We are not incorrect when we use he or they pronouns with Paul. Just not him.
Thank you for checking me. But yeah, like
I checked the other day.
I think Paul didn't have good jury management, but I don't think he was as offensive as Todrick was, to where like the bitter jury on 19, sometimes people were like, okay, you're taking it a little too far. Even Jessica in the finale was like, I would have voted for Paul. You guys are just bitter. Here, they have 100% right to be bitter.
Right.
And I think that's the difference. This season, they are 100% justified in their bitterness. Especially Todd, especially Lamar, especially
Shayna. And Chris. All of them.
Honestly, all of
them. It's really, you know what? I give it for Mariah and Carson voting for Misha. It's one of those things where I think Mariah is very young and naive to the game, but she's smart enough to know that if I vote for Todrick, I'm really not going to look good. And also because that's part of what the game is about for a celebrity, right? And I guess again, this is why I can't decide whether or not I like this format better than regular Big Brother. I think that I will say I think that the regular Big Brother format does need to be accelerated a bit. I think we need more doubles. We need more twists.
We need a shorter season. We don't need to stick every day being Wednesday veto, Thursday HOH. It needs to just be like, if we're ready to play a veto and vote someone off, do it in one episode.
Yeah. We need more stuff to kind of accelerate the game. Maybe not make it like so much faster, right? Like I love having my whole summer be Big Brother, but I would also love I think we said the last time, like more house guests or just like a smaller jury, because then that means that the jury spots are that much more coveted, those types of things. But the one thing that is not so great about this format is there's a lot of pressure to vote for the right person, right? And already there's when you're in the jury house, you're very separate from the world. So like what you guys are sitting there deciding, when you listen to the guys from BB22 talk about who they're going to vote for, they all knew that they were probably going to vote for Cody, but they were very okay with, if they needed to, voting for Enzo. Or even kind of contemplating Nicole because of what was going on. There was no one kind of swaying them. They got to kind of talk about that themselves. With this, and I'm not saying at all that this shouldn't have happened, because I do not think Todrick deserved to win based on his behavior, based on just his humanity throughout the game, because that's part of the game. At the end of the day, this is a social experiment, and your humanity is probably the one thing that you're expected to retain.
They knew they were watching it back, so they know. So if you're on a season where you don't know if they're watching it back or not, that's a little unfair. But if you know from the beginning that everyone's going to be watching the live feeds when they get voted off, then I would be extra conscious more than ever about what you say.
Right. So I think that in a regular season of Big Brother, I do think that keeping them in the jury house and keeping them a little bit more I'm a little bit more in the dark about what's going on in the house
Mm-hmm.
during the season. Once they're there, I think I do prefer that, only because celebrities are not as easily swayed. They've got their own fan base. They know what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. They're going to make their own decisions. But a regular human being, like, someone who this is their big opportunity, they might feel as though, like, I can't vote for that person because I'll be canceled or like something like that. And I
Yeah.
think that's just unfortunately the world we live in. So I think like a more accelerated season for sure. A little bit more like urgency, maybe even if anything, a little bit more of those like something we don't see enough of right now is luxury comps. But luxury comps don't have to just be for 5K. I think some of the
Mm-hmm.
best like comps midweek were like season 14 when the claw machine shows up and you see that second veto and Ian is like, I need that.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is like, because
Yeah.
that disrupts the week, because you can do that at
Or
any time.
even the Mon one, just the idea of, oh, okay, tonight Mariah's going to be the first boot. This is so sad. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now Teddy might be the first boot. Ah, too bad. But then all of
Right.
a sudden, boom, we're going to get a replacement. I mean, and Todd Bridges, who has not been discussed this week, just ends up on the block because Catan's like,
Right.
Lamar, I'll save you. And it's like,
Right.
that is such a cool moment because you're watching the
Right.
feeds all week saying, all right, we know how it's going to go. It's going to be Teddy and maybe Mariah if it's a close vote. But then Todd goes up and it is a close vote. It's a 5-3 vote.
Right.
Like, this is the kind of thing that I want
Right.
to see more often, of just like completely from the beginning of the week predetermined twist, but that
Right.
the audience and players alike don't realize until the end of the week. So that way on
Right.
eviction night, there is a surprise. Or if they're going to do a double eviction, surprise both the audience and the players and surprise them with the double eviction, and do it week 2 or something when you
Right.
haven't been able to get all
Something
the, like, there's so
interesting.
many different things you could do just to like spice up the game and keep things surprising. I
Right.
think the first week was so exciting because of that.
Yeah,
I
I agree.
I think the whole season, a lot of people have been saying that the turning point was the Shayna blindside, and I agree. But I don't think it got significantly worse or bad. It definitely got worse from the beginning of the season, because the beginning of the season was great because it was like Chris Patrick doing his own thing, and then the whole change of power to Carson, and then of course Carson got played, put up Shayna, and even that was interesting because you at least had a rooting interest in Shayna. You leaned in to see what would happen. The rest of the season, I think, was just kind of riding off of the fact that like Lamar and Todd were great TV, and that Todrick was so you love to hate him. And I think that was why people tuned in. Whereas Big Brother 19, there wasn't anyone you really liked to go with the Paul hate. It was more of just like, we hate Paul and we hate Josh and we hate Christmas and we don't really like Kevin that much. Like, it was one of those things where I like this one because there were rooting interests till the end. There were villains to root against to the end. Even though the beginning of the season was stronger, I still think this is a really good season, and I would have ranked it very highly. It would definitely be in my top 10. I don't know if it'd be top 5 anymore, just because the last few weeks were a little annoying, especially with Todrick. Like, it was almost just like I didn't want to see him anymore. But at least I was so excited to watch tonight's to see him lose. And I think it speaks to a great season, is when you have someone. It's great when you can root for someone who's so deserving to win. It would be like if Tiffany made it to the end after the whole cookout thing. Imagine how happy we'd be. But I think it's almost more fun to see someone we hate lose. And I think that was what this season brought to the end. And I think that's why 19 is a great finale, and why we've seen so many great seasons feature villains. Chilltown, and Jeff taking down Jesse in 11. Like so many different villains. Rachel Riley herself being a villain that you loved to hate the season before, to become the person you love to love the second season. Like, this is why I love the game.
These are the things, right? Like people were very quick to dismiss the season one Shayna went home, and I understand that. And you know what? I don't knock anybody for kind of tuning out as Todrick got worse and worse and worse, because honestly, for a lot of people that can be super triggering. I mean, that's again part of the game itself, is that it's a social experiment for human beings, and the game is not for everybody. But the one thing that I would like kind of urge people to remember is that this is a really good example at how important it is to be a good game player in Big Brother, right? So many super fans of the show, like I ourselves included, have always called more for, interesting gameplay where people are making choices, they're making moves for themselves, they're really like working towards getting to the end. And this season, every single person, aside from maybe like Cynthia, who, like we said, she doesn't know the game. Todrick teaches her, and you kind of just let her coast to the end. Every person from the moment that everything began, even Lamar, who like consistently on the feeds was kind of just like over it and wanted to go home. He showed in the way
I don't think
that
he wanted
played,
to go home. He just
that's
was
what I
like,
mean, is
if
that
it's me, it's me. He didn't care enough to stay, but like, I don't know. I'll defend Lamar.
Showed,
I love Lamar.
Right. Oh, no. I love Lamar. Lamar, I thought was going to be terrible TV and then ended up being such a great house guest. He surprised us. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's the thing, is that even people who didn't maybe know the game well, or like didn't see as much value in the game, ended up wanting to stay day after day. And I think even more so, if this were a cast of regular, I keep saying regular people, but non-celebrities,
right.
I think that we get even more interesting dynamics because, they're fighting for their lives. They're fighting for the game. This is the kind of stuff that we want. This is what we want as fans. We don't want someone as vile of a person as Todrick. We don't want someone who's kind of presenting in this way of just being an absolute jerk and bad mouthing people's families. But what we do want is we want people who either know the game really well or don't know it well, but are willing to learn. And I think the only person who wasn't willing to learn because of his back was Chris Kattan. And even up until that point, he was looking to play the game. He was looking to be involved.
Which I'll say, favorite moment of the night was after commercial break. Chris Kattan's here. I was like, oh my God, they got him. Because some people were saying on Twitter, like, he's blacklisted from CBS. And, people use words.
They're all wrong.
People use buzzwords. Well, they might be right in the sense that, like, CBS will not invite them on any of their programming, like, again, after this, maybe, because, you quit the game. But I like the idea that they let him be there for the finale because he was a part of the season and he left for reasons that were understandable. I think that's the difference between this season and other seasons. Other seasons, people quit because they either got bored or they were just like, I don't really get it. It's Chris Kattan. You could tell he was in pain, even if it wasn't physical pain, which we know it was because he said he was having back issues. But in the house, he said it was just emotional. He missed his family, and I get it. Like I do. And some people sign up for this. The people who apply for this game regular season are people who like actually want to be on it. These people are probably people who were contacted by people. And Chris Kattan probably said yes. And sometimes you just don't know what you're signing up for. And I think that's fair.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, again, Chris Kattan ended up being great TV. Like he was not even necessarily a bad player. He just, it wasn't the game for him. And that's okay.
There's so many what ifs you can make of like if he stays, what happens? Because really, so much could happen. Like really, this could end up being a Shayna, Carson, Cynthia, Chris Kattan Final Four, or Chris Kirkpatrick Final Four, or Final Five with Chris Kattan. Like they could easily just take out that week. When Chris Kirkpatrick goes home, whatever. The next week, if they get rid of Misha, then the week after. Maybe that's when like you get rid of Todrick and then you get rid of Todd and then your Final Four is someone completely different. You know what I mean? I think Cynthia makes it either way, but everyone else is
and different. You know what? I do think that we will. I do think we actually will see a Celebrity Big Brother All Stars. I do think we'll see that because
I've heard the rumors that they want to do it for 5.
And again, it's one of those things where like you can't trust the rumors all the time, but I do think the cool thing, and I think this is what I again. We use this show to talk about so many things, but like this began out of my love for Big Brother and asking you if we can find a place to talk about it, because this is just a show that I feel like is for the people who, can sit there and see themselves through their day to day, like wanting to do more and then finally ending up in a position where like they can use maybe not just their athletic ability, but their ability to be good with people. We've got so many celebrities who are interested in the game. You've got Shayna, you've got Kirkpatrick, you have Shannon from CB,
Shannon Elizabeth, from the first
Shannon
one.
Elizabeth from season 1. You've got Ross,
James from Big Time Rush.
You've got Tamar, who's one of the greatest female winners we've ever seen. You've even got Misha, who like honestly, Misha for me is someone who I would bring back as a villain any day of the week. She seems like she seems like a better version of Christmas. If I'm honest, she seems like if Christmas was actually good at the game, that Misha would be what Christmas could be. But I think that we've got so many awesome celebrities who could play that it would be nice to bring them all back and actually get the season we want, right? No bad blood, no ridiculousness, just full on gameplay from day one.
I have a game to play. Let's go through each season, because assuming there will be 12 on an all. Let's say there's 12 on an all-star. Let's pick 4 from each season, 2 men, 2 women. So season 1.
I need to pull. I
can read them off, and then you could say.
Hold on.
I need
to see it. I need to see it in my. I just need to see it also in front of me as well.
You got
so
because
I know this season I'm pretty good on, but I need season 1.
Season 1. Let's go through the men first. Ross Matthews, I think, is a definite yes.
Yes.
All right. Mark McGrath, I would say is a strong maybe, but I have a second pick I'd like more.
Nah, I keep going.
James Maslow is the other one I would pick.
Is that big time?
Big time Rush.
Yeah.
He was a good because also he was so much younger and he was kind of like the punk.
Yeah.
I would like to have him on. Meta World Peace would not come back because he quit. Did he quit or was he evicted?
Nah, he quit. He quit and they evicted him.
Right. Okay. So he didn't quit, but he was asked to be evicted. And then Chuck Liddell was the first boot. Chuck Liddell would be fun because he would bring a good energy to the house. But I think our 2 is James and Ross. Correct?
Nah, James and Ross. I think that they're better that way.
All right. So now for the girls, let's start from the bottom up. Keisha Knight Pulliam kind of quit, so we're not going to consider her. Shannon Elizabeth is someone I would absolutely love to see play this game again.
Shannon Elizabeth, I would want, and then my second is very difficult.
Yeah, Brandy was so good, but also Omarosa is like, how can you not? Omarosa
was good. She was good at the game, man.
Are we taking winners? Because I like Marissa, but I think there'd be more interesting things. I don't necessarily want Marissa and Ross to run the game.
I was going to say, I think there's a winner from it. I would want 2 winners. If we could have a male winner and a female winner, it would be great. But we have 3 female winners of Celebrity Big Brother. So I think I would take a male runner up and only one female winner, and I have a different female winner.
All right, so we got Shannon. Who's our other woman going to be? Is it Omarosa? Is it Brandy? Or
Ariadna? I think it's Omarosa. I think she's so good at. She was so good.
So from season 1 for our new All-Star season that we're casting, if you're just tuning in, we're going to pick Ross Matthews. We're taking Omarosa. We're taking James Maslow. We're taking Shannon Elizabeth. All right, we're moving on to season 2, where the fan favorite, I forget who the fan favorite was. Oh, I think it might have been Tom Green. Tom Green.
No, it was Tom Green.
By the way.
We're taking Tom Green. You got to put Tom Green in.
Who's our other man here? I don't think Ricky Williams. He's a kind of boring runner-up. I wouldn't.
Yeah, no.
Williams. Kato Kalin's really interesting. Ryan Lochte, Jonathan Bennett. Honestly, I'm not crazy about the men on the season. I might just go for Ricky just because of the diversity and the fact that he's a runner-up. But maybe Kato.
I probably would go with Joey Lawrence if I'm honest with you.
Really?
Something. You gotta iron out some of the creases with you gotta fill in some of the gaps. You know what I mean?
Fine. Well, I'll respect your opinion. I'll put Joey Lawrence on there. For the women, I think this season in general is a little weaker in general, but Lolo Jones I think is a definite because she was just crazy, amazing. I think those are the 2. I think Tamar and Lolo.
Winner, Lolo and Tamar.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Dina Lohan's fine. Candy was great. Natalie Eva Marie was great, but like the women on this season were so much better than the men, by the way. I think we got to go with Lolo and Tamar. So from season 2, we're going to be taking Tamar Braxton, Lolo Jones, and then for the men, we're taking Tom Green and Joey Lawrence as our little wild card, and because we need a musician. And now this season, let's go with the women first. Our winner, Misha. Do we bring Misha along as well?
No, I want Shayna.
Mm-hmm.
I want Shayna definitely.
And
my other woman,
Cynthia, Mariah, or Teddy.
I think I would bring back.
See, I would probably still go with Misha. But
I think I had someone else. I think I was honestly thinking of a regular season girl, and it didn't. No, I think it has to.
We should go with Misha.
It has to be Misha.
All right, and then men, we're not bringing back Todrick. I don't think we bring back
Todd.
I don't think we bring back
Patrick. Todd and Kirkpatrick. I think that's what I would do.
I'm thinking Carson and Lamar.
That Carson's my Carson. Those are. I think all 4 of them are good, but I think
here's the thing. I don't think Lamar would play again. I don't think Lamar would.
No, and I think Kirkpatrick would play. He would have so much fun playing, and I think he'd be a better second-time player than he even would have been a first.
All right.
And I think that Todd, now knowing the game, I think we also just need like some older guys in the house. So if anything, I would say either Kirkpatrick or Lamar, and then either Carson or Todd.
See, I was willing to meet you halfway and say, "What if you let me have Carson? I'll let you have Todd," because I think we definitely need. I think we need diversity though. So maybe we get Kirkpatrick here. We cut Joey Lawrence and let Ricky Williams, the runner-up, take the spot.
I'm in.
So that way we have the diversity, but then we can keep Kirkpatrick as our boy band because we don't need Joey Lawrence and Kirkpatrick. We don't need 2 heartthrob singers from the 90s.
No.
We can have Kirkpatrick here with Are we doing
and Kirkpatrick's a better player?
Carson or Todd? I think Carson he's the fan favorite of the season, which we'll talk about in a sec. But
that was so weird. Anyway, yeah, I'll give it to Carson.
All right, so
that was so
our
weird.
Cast
I thought that was wrong.
Our cast for Celebrity Big Brother All-Stars right now, because in the future there will be a whole nother season to factor in. But we are going to go with Ross Matthews, James Maslow, Shannon Elizabeth, and oh my God, I forgot who our fourth girl from the first season is. I'm blanking. And Omarosa.
Omarosa.
Season 2, we're going to have Tamar and Ricky, the final two. We're going to have Lolo, and we are going to have Tom Green. And then this season, we're bringing back Kirkpatrick, Carson Kressley, we're bringing back Misha, and we're bringing back Shayna. I love that season. I think that would be a fun season.
I think honestly, that would be fun.
Let's Brent steal it sometime. Let's do it over the summer or something.
All right, I'm in.
Yeah, so that's a good way to wrap up just talking about the fan favorite, because we all knew the final 3 would be Carson, Lamar, and Shayna. It's just I thought Shayna was going to win.
I thought Shayna was going to win, and I'm really upset about it.
I voted for her every day.
I don't really know where the Carson comes from. I honestly
do.
Probably
it's the casuals.
Probably
it's the casuals.
I was going to say from casuals who are just watching that clip session, because he was so highly highlighted. He was so vigorously highlighted in that.
And he's great TV. He is great. I think if he doesn't make that stupid game move, I think he was the number one in all the polls until then. Like, everyone loved him. And I still love him. I think he is. I think when you think of this season, he's going to be one of the faces you remember.
Right. I agree.
I do think he was a great player, and not a great player, but honestly, early on he was a good player. He was winning great comps.
Yeah, he was a pretty good player.
He beasted some comps. He was a great social player, and I think if it wasn't Shayna, while I love Lamar, I honestly voted for Lamar a few times too, but I think Carson was a better player than Lamar. But
I agree.
I'm happy with any of the 3, honestly. I would have liked Shayna as just a final FEU, but I think Todrick losing 8-1 was already, or 7-1 was already an FEU, so I don't think they needed another one, but it would have been nice to see. But I get why the people watching at home weren't as, much of a Shayna fan, because honestly, if you don't watch a ton of the feeds and you don't have the best memory, you could watch that episode and be like, oh, Shayna did that? Yeah, get her out. Right. Not realizing that Shayna was on their side the whole time, because early on she did play both sides. So I think the casual audience may have thought just the same reason Big D got the most BB bucks that 1 week. It's like the casuals sometimes have a bigger say than the super fans, who are a tighter community than we'd like to believe. But any last thoughts on the season? I mean, it was a great season. Thank you everyone who watched along, and
I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I had fun.
I think it's the best celebrity season we've gotten so far.
I've never been a big fan of the Celebrity Big Brother seasons. They've never been some of my favorites. Again, I think it's more just it always occurs at a really hectic time during my life. So I'm always the summer I always get to look forward to Big Brother. So I love having the Celebrity Big Brother. It's just I don't ever get to it's very rare that I get to sit down and watch live, which is probably my favorite part about Big Brother is sitting down and watching live. But this season was so interesting. Normally I feel like when I'm watching a Celebrity Big Brother season, the feeds are a little quiet. Things on Twitter are a little quiet, but this season was so good with the drama. This is the most celebrities have ever interacted with the fans once they got home, which I think was really nice, because we all got to I think that was the cool thing, is that normally you don't get to you have to wait for the Big Brother players to get home to kind of create the community, but the celebrities this year created the community for us, and we all kind of got to rally behind one thing, which was shitting on Todrick.
Yeah, and again, we're not shitting on him because he made good strategic moves and was a good villain. It was because of the things he said that were harmful to Black community, homosexual community, dancers, which in the theater community, it's like you underpay your dancers. I cannot wait to see what he says about that. That'll be interesting too, is watching the fallout and seeing what he says on social media and what Misha says also, to see if she condones it or if she's tries to defend it. That'll be interesting to see. And also just kind of seeing how this cast interacts now going forward. Which, oh man, I'm just smiling thinking about Chris Kattan running into Julie's arms saying, "Nice to meet you," because he never got the eviction interview.
Oh my God. I know. I think that this was overall a great season. I had fun. I hope you, like Dylan said, we hope that you had fun watching and kind of joining along with us. We got Big Brother coming up in, oh my God, 4 months at this point, pretty much 3 months. And we've got Survivor coming up in about 2 weeks. We've got the Bachelor finale coming up soon. We got Amazing Race finale coming up in a week or two.
Amazing Race just aired, and I don't know who went home. So we have a final 3. You all probably know it at home. We don't. Because
God.
I don't want to look it up. I want to watch it, but like I'm
not gonna look it up. I'm not gonna look it up.
It's gonna be exciting. So the next episode we'll do. If we do it before Wednesday, it'll be Amazing Race predictions and talking about the hometowns for Bachelor. If not, if we do it after Wednesday, the season will wrap. We'll do an Amazing Race wrap up. I'm thinking it might be more of the latter. We wait till Amazing Race wraps up and we talk about that and hometowns. Speaking of, I'm down to 1 player left for Bachelor. Don't want to spoil it for Zach, but I mean, Zach's on Instagram, so it's kind of impossible to ignore at this point. But I'm down to my sole lone Susie, and Zach is down to his sole lone 3 people: Susie, Rachel, and Gabby. Which, if you first episode had told me Gabby and Rachel would be in the final, like Rachel, maybe I would have seen it, but Gabby did not get an edit till episode 2 or whatever. So I don't know how you pulled that out of your ass, but I'm impressed. But I was very shocked to see both Genevieve and Teddy.
I've watched a lot of Bachelor fan take, and just like not for this season. We did our rankings before I watched his rankings, but I've learned a little bit about what to look for, and also just kind of like what to look for in the season. If anyone who's watching hasn't learned about me yet, I fucking love reality TV so much. Not like I can't get behind like the Real Housewives because it doesn't feel like I'm competing for anything.
Competitive reality TV. Even though The Bachelor should not be competitive, but it ends up being anyway. Anything where there is eliminations week to week. Let's say that, because we shouldn't look at Bachelor as a competition.
I live for it.
Very shocking episode that we'll talk about because we're getting hometowns next week for Bachelor, and we're getting the Amazing Race finale. So the next episode we'll probably talk about both those things, and then after that, we will be talking about the Bachelor finale, but also Survivor 42.
It's coming up. It's coming up.
We do that show very differently than our other shows, and the fact that every week we have a new ranking because it switches every week. It's so chaotic that it's not like Big Brother where at the beginning of the week you can kind of predict who's going to go home that week. So we love doing that as Survivor. And then hopefully after that, we will be watching each other on TV, maybe someday. No, I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be a fun few weeks ahead of us, and I cannot wait to finish up Bachelor, which is getting better. As soon as Shanae left, it is getting better.
100%.
This last episode was really nice, except for we'll talk about it. But yeah, good Bachelor season, a really good Amazing Race season, all things considered. We lost some good teams with the COVID shit, but we have a good Final Four, and I assume if all predictions pan out and the team we all think is going to get 4th gets 4th, we have a good Final 3. And if the team we all think is going to get 4th gets in the finals, we've got a really interesting finale.
What do we know when the finale airs? Because if so,
a week from today. Today was the semifinals.
Are we sure? So, wait, are we sure about that? Hold on. Let's look it up because that's going to inform something, Dylan. Let's find out. Amazing Race.
If it's not next week, then that means there's
finale.
no non-elimination this week.
Okay.
Yes, because they kept teasing online that 4 would become 3 tonight. There's no way they're going to do another non-elimination.
Okay. It looks like, it airs on Wednesday, March 2nd.
Yeah, so next week is the finale.
It is next week.
So we'll talk about the finale next week, which is crazy. Maybe we'll do another live stream after the finale, just because I like this live stream format. I know it was a late time and there wasn't much notice, but I'm hoping next time maybe we can get a few more people on board to pop in the chat. But we did have some people watching. I don't know if you can see, Zach. Can you see the eye up top to see how many were watching?
Or no? I cannot.
Okay, I can see it. So we had some watchers.
But I popped in. I popped in every so often on my phone to take a look. So every so often there was one that was me. But we had a couple people watching, which is good,
including my sister who did chime in as our only comment of the night, but to tell us that she does love Tyler Crispin. I think that's a good way to.
Hey, listen, I love Tyler Crispin too, that's Nina. Right. Tyler, if you can hear me,
all right.
Hey.
So let's go through really quick and just give a letter grading from A to F. Teddy Mellencamp, I would give her a D. She did fight hard, but she didn't really get the chance, so I didn't get to see much of her.
D.
Mariah would give her a C-. I think she just couldn't get her grounding, but I think she has potential. But again, C is average, so I think she's slightly below.
I'll give her a C solid. A C solid.
Great. Chris Kattan, obviously. I can't give him an F, but I'm going to give him a D.
I'm going to have to give him.
He left the game.
I'm going to have to give him an incomplete.
Yeah. I'll give Chris Kirkpatrick a C- as well because he was a pretty average player, and then he just made a stupid move to go home. But I do admire him, so I'll
give him a B-. I thought he was better than average. Yeah, I'll give him a B-.
Shayna, I got to give her a big old B. I think she got gypped this year. She was the person, the fallen angel of the season. But again, like I wish I could have seen a little bit more.
B-. B- for me.
Carson, I think he also gets a B. I think he was playing a pretty flawless game. He was a target for a lot of the time, but he was able to get off the block when he needed to, and could have made the. Actually, I'll demote him to a C+ because he was such a target, but he was able to deflect the target. But
I'll give him.
Couldn't get off.
I'll give him a C. I'll give him a C. Yeah, right. A C.
Next, we have Lamar. I'm going to give him a B+. I think he played the best game he could have possibly played. It wasn't a great game, but he was someone, if he was sitting in the end, he would have won. So I'm going to give him a B+. Todd Bridges, I'm going to give an A-. I think he played a perfect under-the-radar game, and at the very end, all he needed to do was win one veto, and I believe he's the winner of Big Brother if he wins that last HOH. So I'm going to give him an A-.
I'm going to give him an A. I'm shocked. I thought that he did so much better than I ever could have expected, and I'm actually kind of sad that he didn't make it to the end.
Cynthia, I'm giving a C. Okay, interesting. I'm giving her a C because she seems average in the fact that, like, she didn't really get much blood on her hands. She wasn't ever in danger, so I got to commend her for that. She just kind of, like, cruised through, which I think is the perfect definition of just an average player. I think she's a C.
I'm going to give her a D. I just thought that Cynthia didn't leave much to be desired as a game player, and that always frustrates me as a watcher.
I'm going to give Todrick a C+ because I think he played half of the game perfectly and that he got to the end, but then he couldn't do anything in terms of jury management. So I think he's slightly above average because he is great, but like I can't give him anything more than a C+ because he had horrible jury management.
Yeah, I'm gonna say as a game player, as like a strictly game player, nothing outside of it, I'd give Todrick an A. As a game player in every other aspect, I would give Todrick an F. Therefore, I'll even it out to a C-.
Yep. And Misha, I would give her an A. I think she did everything she needed to do to get to the end. She was the biggest target at one point. That if Todrick hadn't gotten everyone on the board to get rid of Shayna, I think she's gone. So I don't think she played a perfect game. But I think an A is good enough. No one's getting an A+ from me this season, but I think she's the most worthy of the A. So.
I agree. Dylan, if you had one player in Big Brother history to give your A+ to, this will be our last thing. One person in history to give your A+ to, who would be your A+?
There are two players that won this game. Well, I guess there were three now, or actually four now, with celebrity Tamar included, that have won this game unanimously. I don't count Tamar because of celebrity. I think Cody had the help of the fact that it was All-Stars and he had predetermined relationships. And I think Xavier had the fact that, like, it was kind of like a 6-person cause, that, like, he was getting final 6 no matter what. He had that little buffer and cushion. It was impressive, but he didn't necessarily put in all the work to do it. So I think by default, of the players that have won unanimously in the end, I would have to say Dan Giesling from Big Brother 10 has played the A+ game of Big Brother.
And Dylan, I mean, to round it out, of course, it's no surprise, but I would have to give my A+ to Derek Levasseur.
Oh, I thought you were going to go Tyler.
No. Tyler gets an A. It's not an A+. Yeah, he almost gets there. If he has a little more time to sell the jury, it's an A+. Anyway, but Derek Levasseur, even with the 2 votes against him, I think those were 2 votes that were always going to be lodged kind of in the opposite way because of small things that he never could have changed Donnie or Jacosta's minds on, but nearly like the first person to get through a season, never going up on the block, getting there flawlessly, working out minds pretty much for every single person, having everyone thinking that he's their best friend, and just overall, I mean, you know, it's hard to pretend that you're someone you're not. It's even harder to get through 90 days with never having to mention what you actually do for a living. So I give him an A+ just because I really can't think of someone who has ever pulled off what he's pulled off on the first round, so flawlessly.
Yeah, I agree. 2 great players. Obviously, Dan and Derek, it's going to be hard to top. We may see it someday. Maybe one of us, maybe someone else. I don't know. Who gets your
CBS? I'm calling for you to look.
Who gets your recipe for reality this week, Zach?
I think that my recipe for reality this week is going to go to Todd Bridges. I think it's going to go to Todd Bridges. I think Todd surprised me and quite like a good recipe. Maybe at first I looked at it and it looked like a lot of work needed to be done, but by the end, it was all worth it.
I am going to give my recipe for reality to Misha. I think she played a good game and she deserved a win. It's the cliche answer, but I really do think she did what she needed to win, including aligning herself with a person that everyone hated, which was not necessarily her doing, but like
gameplay.
And she knew to take him. And I think that's also a good read to have because we didn't even talk about it. But if she brings Cynthia, maybe some people do vote for Cynthia. I don't know, but I don't even want to get into that scenario because I don't think it would have ever happened. But thank you guys for watching. Zach, where can I find you?
You know where to find me at ZachAryRobin39 on the Twitter, at ZLove with 3 E's on Instagram. You can find me pretty much anywhere. You can find me here on this channel. That's really it.
You can find me here at the Dill Pickle Movie Network if you're watching. Thank you so much. This will be on podcast form at some point. I'm going to hopefully get that up and running in March, starting with the beginning of Survivor. I'm hoping to get all those podcasts from there on out available to listen to, because I think it's valuable for you all to take us with you as you go. When we do our next live show, it might not be next week, but when we ever do it, I think it would be fun for everyone to chime in. So if you're watching this and didn't get the chance to chime in or watch along this time, next time you'll have the chance to do that. This was a lot of fun, and we'll see you next time, guys. See you later.
Peace
Bye.
out.